We good in the back? All right. On January 4th, I put my hand on my family Bible and I pledged an oath to support Kentucky's Constitution and to faithfully execute the law as Attorney General. I take my responsibility to the Constitution, to the law, and to the people of Kentucky very seriously. As Attorney General, it is my job to make sure that no public official acts outside of his or her authority, regardless of position and regardless of party. That is my duty. And that is why today I am announcing that I have filed suit against Governor Bevin for his unconstitutional and illegal order cutting Kentucky's public universities and colleges in this fiscal year. I do not take any joy or satisfaction out of this action. Over the last 7 days, it was my hope that the governor would listen to reason, comply with the law, and rescind his order. He did not. This is not political. It's not Democrats versus Republicans. It's not about upcoming or future elections. It's not Bevin versus Beshear. It's not even about pensions versus higher education. It's about the law, and my duty as Attorney General to enforce it. And it's not personal. No governor has the power to do what this governor has done, and I would sue any governor who did this, whether Democratic or Republican. Governor Bevin's unilateral cuts in this current fiscal year violate our Constitution's separation of powers, where only the legislature can pass laws, appropriate, and spend tax dollars. His actions violate the governor's constitutional duty to faithfully execute the laws passed by the General Assembly, because our last budget bill became a law. They violate the specific statutes on budget reductions, which require an actual or forecasted budget shortfall in order to take action. And they violate the last budget bill itself, which contains a specific section called the Budget Reduction Plan, which outlines the order that reductions must be made if a shortfall exists. Based on my oath, I cannot let such blatant violations of the Constitution and Kentucky law stand unchallenged. And folks, there's reason to believe that the governor knows that his actions are not legal. During this governor's term, he's enacted a budget reduction for the road plan budget. So how did he do it? Look no further than the executive order that this governor signed. It states that the consensus forecast group met and provided a forecast that presented a budget shortfall. It even cited the statute that requires that for a budget reduction. In the order, the governor then turns to the Road Fund Budget Reduction Plan, contained in the road fund budget that was passed into law, just like the rest of the budget. The governor's own executive order, I believe dated January 4th, admits that this is where his authority to make reductions comes from: the consensus forecasting group and or an actual shortfall, and the actual budget document itself passed into law, and not some allocation or some allocation statute. Why? Because the governor knows this is the law, that is the process, and he must follow it. Look at the difference between those two actions on what happened with the road fund reduction and what's happening here. Here, there is no official executive order, no forecast group meeting, no predicted shortfall, no actual shortfall, and a refusal to follow the budget reduction plan. Put simply, these actions against universities are illegal. And as a people's lawyer, it amazes me that the area the governor is determined to cut, so much so that he has resorted to illegal action, is higher education. The general welfare and material well-being of the citizens of this Commonwealth depends in large measure upon the development of a well-educated and a highly trained workforce. The education and training of the current and future workforce of the Commonwealth can provide its businesses and industries with a competitive edge critical in their success in the global economy and must be improved. Folks, those aren't my words. They're Kentucky law, passed by the General Assembly and codified as KRS 164003. So in Kentucky, a university or community college education isn't a privilege. It's a vital necessity for our economic survival as a state. And an adequately funded K through 12 education, that's not a privilege, that's a constitutional mandate. And folks, these aren't my opinions, they are the law as passed in our Constitution or in our statutes. As the state's top consumer advocate, it is my duty to point out who these cuts will hurt. Because university presidents themselves are not going to absorb any budget cuts. It will be the current and future students. Make no mistake, tuition will go up. It always has when there are cuts. And it'll go up at a time where college or community college has never been more unaffordable. Anyone with a child under 25 or who's expecting to have children should realize it's their family and not anyone else who is going to bear the cost of these cuts. It's going to be hardworking Kentucky families that are working day in and day out to provide their kids a better life. The cuts and the costs of those cuts are going to be borne by folks who are trying to live out the American dream in the way that we encourage everyone to do it. And I know that outside of education and higher education, our state has significant needs and not enough money. There are always those needs and not enough money. The governor's focused on pensions, believing it's this state's biggest problem. It is a problem. But drugs, drug addiction, the number of people that we are losing to drugs, I believe that that's this state's biggest problem. It's about lives versus dollars. But this state budget doesn't spend nearly enough on drug treatment, education, or enforcement. But I would never suggest the General Assembly, the governor, or anyone else should take an illegal action to provide more money for that important cause. The state's in the same position as every Kentucky family is in every year. Every Kentucky family wishes they had a little more money to put towards a priority, but we would never suggest that a family take an illegal act to create that money to put towards that priority. The same rules apply to the state. The same rules apply to this governor. 1 Timothy chapter 1 verse 8 says, "We know the law is good if man uses it lawfully." It's my duty to make sure that he does. So again, I do not file this lawsuit willingly, but the governor's view of his power compels this challenge. Under his view, a budget is merely a suggestion that creates caps, and the legislature is merely an advisory body that says, we think you should spend money here or there. Under his view, the governor could fully defund the SEEK formula, providing zero to those schools. He could defund the Kentucky State Police by changing the allocation to zero, or the entire unified prosecutorial system. He could do any of these under his view of the law at any time and for any reason. Folks, that's the type of absolute power that the U.S. Constitution, the Kentucky Constitution, and our laws explicitly forbid. It is a direct challenge to our liberty and our way of life, and it's my job to stand up to anyone who claims to have that power. That's why we will be pushing as fast as we can for a ruling by the Franklin Circuit Court. We will be seeking an expedited or fast briefing schedule so that the March 31st order is declared illegal and the state is compelled to provide the funds to these universities who have relied upon it all year long. Because that funding isn't a privilege. It's not a recommendation. It's the law. And I, for one, am going to do my constitutional duty. Thank you, and I can take any questions.
Attorney General, why didn't you wait till next week until we know if there is going to be a budget or not?
Well, my information is that current fiscal year is not being discussed by either the House or the Senate. Well, my understanding is they've decided not to. But, Jack, regardless, the order as it's been put out is illegal and was illegal on the day they put it out. And for me not to do my duty to challenge an illegal action when it occurs because something might change isn't the right thing to do. Plus, this issue is bigger than just this order. If the governor believes he has the power simply by changing an allocation to zero to defund anything in a budget, Jack, the day after the budget was passed, he could and would do the same thing. The only way to resolve this issue is for the court not only to declare this order illegal, but also that the governor does not have this power, or for the governor to agree in a settlement that he does not have this power and would not try to do it again.
Did you ever hear back from the governor's office at all?
We got the same statement that you all got on that same Friday, that they believe that they have the authority, which they do not.
Have you talked to any of the university presidents about the lawsuit?
Well, university presidents are rightfully concerned right now about all of the different things that are going on, and in many ways, their relationship to the governor is important. I believe that each and every university president will be watching this action. I know that their universities have relied upon this funding all year long, and in the end, while I like our university presidents, I'm much more concerned about the students, about the tuition that's going to be raised on those students, about how those students are going to bear an illegal cut if it's allowed to stand.
A week ago, you said that if a president of a university went along with this order, that it was a dereliction of duty. 7 of them have now signed on to these. So are those university presidents now not fulfilling their duties?
I disagree that they've signed on to it. Chris, if you look at their letter, they mention being able to deal with a final cut of 2% in the current year, quote, if it is determined by the courts to be permissible. They know this challenge is coming. I believe that they know that we are right on the law, and that's exactly why that language was included in their letter. We don't yet. We know it'll be one of 2.
How about a timeline? You said you were going to push for this to be sped up.
Well, we are going to seek a hearing on a temporary injunction next week. We hope on Thursday, and then we'll need an expedited briefing schedule as we move into the next couple weeks. Because universities have relied on this money for the entire year, and because this is a 4.5% cut to the whole year, but it has to be borne in the last quarter, what they expected to receive in this quarter versus what they're actually getting is a huge challenge. And therefore, we need to act very, very quickly to compel the state to give them the funds that the legislature mandated.
Anybody else? If there is a budget this week that has no mid-year cuts to higher education, will you drop this lawsuit?
Well, the only way that we could drop this lawsuit is first if the governor rescinded this order, because this order is out there. And not only is the order out there, but the allotment that was made to the universities was, in fact, cut, to my information. So the order would have to be rescinded, the funds would have to be sent, and then we'd have to have some agreement by the governor that he does not have this power, so the day after the budget is signed, he doesn't allocate certain things to zero, thereby cutting whatever he wants from it. No governor has that power.
Could you briefly explain
Yes.
these allotments and how often they come up?
Well, an allotment as opposed to an appropriation. An appropriation is we're going to spend this amount of money. It's the amount of money in the budget that's going to various universities or anything else, the Kentucky State Police. The allotment is the timing in especially the quarters, first, second, third, and fourth, that those dollars will be paid. The concept that you could change an allotment, which is timing, simply to zero, is a cut under anybody's definition. And to make a cut, there are statutes on budget reductions. You have to follow them. And then there is a budget bill, which is law, that has a budget reduction plan in it. It's a law. The governor has a constitutional duty to faithfully execute it. He has to follow it. And that's exactly what they did in the road fund plan reduction. And that's exactly what they're not doing here.
Anybody else?
Thank you all very much.